order. This is City Council Public Safety Subcommittee meeting, September 15th, 5 p.m.-ish. So, approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. We don't have those. I didn't print them out, so why don't we... We'll put that off. Public speak time. Seeing no one here from the public, we can go to the continuing business discussion of the draft street acceptance protocol. So I know planning was able to take a look at it, and
right.
I had asked them. I got really great notes from Jess, but I really kind of wanted to get an opinion from the planning board themselves, like try and get a little daylight between those two opinions. And they don't want to look at it until Jess knows are incorporated.
Well, I actually went because they put it in front of there, and I kind of went just to hear what their opinion was. I wanted to, and I was off.
And thank you for that. I had
so they did talk
scheduling
briefly,
conflict. I just couldn't.
And they, like often with the planning board, they pretty much said whatever Jess wants.
Whatever the planner says.
Their only question was Jess is still a little, and if she comes on this issue, is I think she's still a little confused how she can invoice them, because some of the ones, some put up a bond, some will put up we did this one a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she said that she felt they needed, or she needed at least more clarification on the invoicing. And then one of the planning board members, I think it was Harry, talked about, well, who decided how much the...
I got the number from Joe Pip. I went right to DPW.
And I said, well, that's what I said.
Yeah.
I told him, I said, I believe it was public work. I mean, that's,
yeah.
You know, that would be my assumption, but I said, I'll ask, but I assumed.
Nope. Exactly what we did.
And then Jessica said, asked if the city clerk had seen it, or she had said at one point she hadn't seen it, because she's mentioned in there a little bit, if she had come back with any comments. And I said, I know she's mentioned in there, but I said, I don't know if
Yep, Barbara and I emailed back and forth about it. It's not actually going to be an ordinance. That's not.
Well, that was their other question. Is it going to be an ordinance, or is it going to be a policy?
No, it's policy.
Okay. Because that was their other question. See, ordinance / policy question mark.
Yeah.
And then would there be a public hearing if it's, and I said, well, there would definitely have to be a public hearing if it's an ordinance, but a policy, I'm not sure if you'd have a public hearing, but I said generally matters like this, we do have a public hearing.
Yep, exactly.
Just because it's kind of changing the way we go. So that's what the planning board, and those were the questions they kind of had, additional questions they had on.
So yeah, it would be a policy that I keep in the public safety subcommittee folder. It is not in any official documents such as city ordinances. You could talk to Dan if he thinks city council rules, so I can ask Rist if that's.
The rules.
Yeah.
So I said, I don't know how, and again, the invoicing, as I said, that was the one thing Jessica really wasn't sure.
And then she very scarily said, I think we can do whatever works best. I think having a policy and procedures manual for this and other common city council actions would be a big help when I'm not around anymore.
Hey,
and I was like, I'm not even thinking about that. So it could be part of the council rules because of the rules of procedure, city council time, adopt rules, regulate procedure. So I'm just going to clarify that with Dan, but yeah, policy and procedures for city council.
Very good.
So Jess had said that, to make the edits that she said and then send it back to the planning board.
Right.
But I think we're also going to roll in. I'm thinking about just having a sheet where whomever's doing the street acceptance can be like, yep, I checked with the police chief, I checked with the fire chief, I checked with the conservation commission, just so that we know that those things happened.
And I did mention this was something I mentioned, because I said we were down there on the street acceptances on Hall Street, and I said, I kind of mentioned like when the planning board, I said I didn't know if this was how we could work this, but I said when you give exemptions like in a planned subdivision, in other words, when you say like I went to the granite, you said for cost, you said okay, you don't have to put in the granite curbing, you have to put in the berms. I said that is a problem because when they're still under construction, they break the berms down. And I said I think you got to make them aware. I mean, you actually have to put them in, but you may have to repair them before the city takes it over, because I said we don't want to take the street over and then have us pay to put in these berms. I mean, it's got to, when we accept the street, the berms got to be back in that's your prerogative to agree to the berms, but you got to make it known to the contractor. If you break them while you're constructing, you're gonna have to repair them before it's accepted.
Right.
And if they meet conditions, I mentioned like the sign. A light and nobody seems to know the light.
Yeah, do you want to move on to Paul Street then?
Sure.
So,
So that was the planning board.
and did that seem reasonable to them?
Yes, they were
Yeah.
good on that. You know, and I think, and again, going sort of on, this was way off the thing, but I think it's, you know, we're seeing, and maybe this is a whole thing for the city at some point to talk about it, you know, it would be beyond my time, but I don't know how boards can get along, you know, in other words, a little bit on like, when we talked about the brewery and you know, here's two boards that are kind of doing dual actions and, you know, how do we know what each board is doing? Because one board could have
Right.
an effect on another.
Well, and the minutes aren't on the website,
Right.
and there's
That's what I
no
said.
way to even like catch up. Like even
Right.
if you wanted to know what happened at a meeting last night,
Right, it's not, you're right.
there's no way to know what happened.
Right, exactly. If you go to the next meeting,
Yeah.
ask them for a copy of their.
No, we don't. And I've been
See, all
looking
the-
at like how a lot of other municipalities get information out, you know?
Theoretically, every board is supposed to file their, and I think the city council does it pretty well, there's a couple other boards. Every board is supposed to file a copy, not only with their committee, but also with the city clerk, so that anyone can walk into the city clerk's office. Now, with technology today, and again, I don't know what Barbara's technology is, but if the minutes were being turned into the clerk's office, it seems like you could scan board minutes. And you're
Yeah.
not maybe going to get them in real time.
No,
In other
I
words,
mean, that-
you're not going to get what the conservation did last night because they probably don't have them yet. But certainly by a week, you're going to be able to. Or if you know, if a thing goes from planning to licensing, or from planning to the public safety, you can certainly go back to the planning of that date.
Right.
If it's
Well, and the other thing is, I would think with something like a license, you would know that this, you know, whatever entity, it had some sort of interaction with some
other board.
department or board at City Hall, and it would be on your due diligence
Right,
to
to go back
get
and get
that information, you know? But
Okay, on to Paul Street.
on to Paul Street. So I think we have to send it back to planning.
Okay.
Did you see the email I sent earlier?
I don't think so.
Okay. So I sent an email earlier about this,
To planning.
about the Paul Street extension. Oh no, it was Joe. Sorry, my apologies. So Jared, who's from the Pisquamic
Mhm.
Conservation, I emailed him, and because he had checked in with me today, and I said, all right, how prescient of you. Our subcommittee meeting is actually this evening. We did a site visit, and it doesn't even appear close to being ready. We're going to discuss sending it back to planning. And one aspect that specifically concerns the Pisquamic crew is that the entrance to your property is completely blocked off by construction debris and mounds of soil and greenery. And then I gave him a link to the images. But unfortunately, I don't believe this falls under the street acceptance criteria,
Right.
but wanted you to know. If you'd like to join us this evening, we'd be happy to discuss with you. And as a side note, I think you guys do a great job.
So you're saying we should send it back to the planning board so that they can make sure their conditions are all being met?
I think so, because they set the conditions.
set the
Like, we don't
conditions.
know who's mowing that center thing, and it
Right.
looks like
Right.
crap. I don't know, like, I mean, that's just nuts for the Pisquamic Club. Like,
No, I mean.
they want to put up a sign. I mean, there's no way to do it.
I mean, that is, again, and because we don't have a compliance officer, or I don't know who's supposed to do that, but I mean, how does the planning board, and I'm, you never try to put more work on them, but if they set conditions at some point, should they have to go out and make sure their conditions are being met? I mean,
And that's, I don't know if they're, I don't,
I mean, I'm not trying to be.
right, so that's what the new street protocol does, is that
Right,
by the
it's-
time it gets to city council, whomever's
It's
doing
all-
it, everything's been checked off, and then it's
just a matter
kind
of going out, taking
of,
a
you
photo,
know,
look at it and saying-
procedural, and it's done, because trying to reverse engineer all of this stuff that
Right.
happened by the time it hits us is just,
Right, because then you're sending back, because, in a sense, we don't probably have authority to,
no.
as you said, like, through the signs with this Pisquamic Trust, there's not.
I mean, if Jess is great, she sent me everything she had, but there's no minutes to a meeting where this was discussed. At any point, like whether or not, yes, we feel like this is good enough to go to city council, or these are the waivers, or. So yeah, I don't know what the planning board's intent was with the waivers, so there's no way for us to really know that the criteria was met.
No, I agree.
So this is just an email that says that the planning board found that the conditions listed in these decisions were met to their satisfaction and voted 3-0. Granted, that was October 19th, 2011. I don't know why it didn't.
But how can you, I guess in 2011, how can you say the conditions are met? I mean, if it was a condition, one of the conditions assigned, like a trail was like the entrance to the trail, obviously that.
I think that's separate, but I don't know anything about, there's nothing
And
like
who, again, I'm getting going back to
who turns on that lamp.
Right, who turns on the lamp, who maintains the cul-de-sac. Once we accept it, we're gonna end up maintaining it.
So, and basically, these are the notes that, like, the quality of the work overall was low. Like, these are the notes I made
That
while
you took
everybody
over.
was kind of looking. Pine trees transplanted to further screen the development, we don't know if that happens. The stop sign is an NA. Not responsible for the long-term maintenance, they don't identify who. A performance guarantee and an amount what happens, but we don't have. And the applicant shall receive approval from the Conservation Commission, which we don't have. So, and that's,
So I guess we could send them back to the commission and say, you have answers to these questions, if we're doing the street acceptance.
right. I mean, we tried. Well, I mean, we got it last fall, and then it snowed, we couldn't see it, and then when we saw it, it was like, I can't, and I feel bad about the Pastrana Club being like, hey, we want to put this sign up and hurry up, and I'm like, yeah. Now I don't
Get it in
feel,
before the fall.
I know. I showed him the pictures. Well, I sent the pictures, I didn't hear back. But we can do that, right? We can send it back to planning?
I think we can send it back certainly and ask. In other words, here's some concerns. I would just type on the note and send it to, I was gonna ask it at the next meeting, what can you have them, we'll put it on the agenda just so that they can say what, we don't know. Can you tell us who's supposed to, in your deliberations, you have a cul-de-sac, who's supposed to maintain the cul-de-sac?
Right.
Was it discussed? I mean, maybe they never discussed it. I mean, I don't know, then who, I guess that would be the question, saying that never came up.
But it's, I mean,
Then who can we decide that? I don't know.
I don't think we can decide that.
I mean, it should be something for the planning board to have decided.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if it's the same planning board members,
Well,
maybe
yeah,
it's nobody who
definitely.
even
Right.
ever looked
Several
at
of them
it.
might have been,
So-
I don't know when that originally started, but, and there's certainly probably a couple of the members that Jim Dallin, of course, I didn't guarantee, he probably would have done.
Right. But I think what you were saying, like, when, the note that I made about the quality of the work overall was kind of low, has to do with the fact that these waivers were made and then
Right.
there's still just a lot of construction going on, and
It just kind of, it just doesn't look finished.
it doesn't, and that was one of the big questions.
But
It's like,
not-
does
I
this
know-
look ready? It's like, no, it
And I know
doesn't.
things can go, maybe you can't sell all the lots in a year and a half, maybe things, but
Right.
to me, it still should look, as a lot's done, and everything should kind of look squared away around it. It just looks.
Yeah. No, and it's a bummer because I want to accept it. You know what I mean? I want more miles in the town, absolutely. But yeah, all right. So we're just gonna send.
Just get a advisory opinion from the planning board if they have any additional information they can provide to us on these things.
Yep. Well, I'm pretty
Cul-de-sac.
sure the waivers I got an email from Jess, so I can just reply back and just. I made notes about each question of the waiver, but I didn't want to talk about it until we were
Right.
here in the meeting. No, and Jim was certainly helpful.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'll copy him on it as well.
Any other agenda?
No, that was it.
I think we're gonna have a couple after tomorrow.
Oh, yeah?
Some polls.
I like emails.
Huh?
I really, really, really would like my packet information in an email.
Electronic.
Yeah.
I just happened to be down earlier today, yesterday, it was yesterday today.
I know.
I got picked it up yesterday because I was down here for conservation.
All right, so I would take a motion
Think there's
to,
a-
do we have to do a vote on that? Just send it back to planning?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if you want to, I'll make a motion to send it back to planning for advisory opinion.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. All right, and then a motion to adjourn,
And-
yes.
Yes, motion, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So moved. All in favor? Aye.